Welcome to the Grand Finals of Nations Cup between Canada and China. Earlier on, Canada took a convincing 3-1 victory in the winners bracket semifinals, with China winning only on Nomad. Now, after both teams have advanced past Finland, the Grand Finals will be a best of 7. Canada, coming from the winners bracket, will have a 1-game lead going into it. Each team has 3 home map picks, and for the Civ draft, each team picks 12 civilizations that only they can use. The remaining civs may be used once by both teams. So without further ado, let's get into game number 1 on China's home map of Nomad. Alright, this will be a much more spread out Nomad. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 TCs. Who's the last player without a TC? Orange looks like Yo. Where is Yo putting his TC? He'll have a decent TC spot here. He'll be pretty far away from everyone else. So within a minute, everyone has their TC down. So we will have Yo as the Berbers in the orange. What panel do we want to see? I guess the eco panel at the start, probably. His teammate will be Tim in the purple as the Vietnamese. Then Lix in the yellow as the Celts. And finally Vivi in the red as the Burgundians. Then for Canada, Mentalist will be all by himself as the Cyan Lithuanians. Could just boom into Paladins from out here. Slam will be the Persians in the blue. Chris will be the Malians in the gray. Vivi will be docking that middle pond. We'll have a good amount of fish in there. And then finally we'll have Hera as the Spanish in the green. Yeah, and this is usually what I think you want on Nomad. One player out by themselves who can just boom freely. And we'll see if Vivi with the Burgundians can do something to punish that. Always have to be aware of those castle drops for the Custier. Burgundians are quite adept at using their unique unit, and especially on Nomad, where it is very powerful. Yeah, so docking the middle pond, I'm curious about that. I have seen players on China do this before. I know Tim's done it. But docking the middle pond means that, well, one, your fish are safe from any water aggression on the outside. But they're also pretty limited in what they're able to collect. Hello, Pax. There he is. If you like the math part, it's probably still not going to be in the next couple weeks, but that logarithm video I've been working on the website I'm putting together. We're going to have some good logarithm math going on. And ooh, we have Mentalist saving a villager. The house trick didn't actually stop the Rhino, but it actually made it pathfind around, so he'll be safe. And it goes right for the weak vill and kills it. Oh, Mentalist. So this is something that maybe I gotta put this on the to-do list for the videos, but when you ungarrison units, they get ungarrisoned in the order they were first garrisoned. So if you put the weak vill in the TC first, and then let it pop out, it'll be the one that ungarrisons closest to the boar. We have another pause. Too late for the re.
Yes.
I'm just checking the chat. It's just a sorry go already, yes. 500 IQ Rhino. Yeah, so I know this is something that Chris wrote in his book years ago, where he said it felt like the boars always go after the weak vill. And I think there are instances where they actually do. Because the one that is closest will have the arrow hit the Rhino first and be the one that is receiving the aggro from it. So this will have to be another breakdown, I think. Or maybe an analysis video. That's a really cute little fact, I think, I want to look into. And Rhino is taken out by Chris's TC. Nice and cleanly here, but not really well positioned. Kind of an awkward location outside the TC by the back. You're a big fan of the garrison and prey strategy. Yo, laming Hera. Is he laming Hera? Just taking a nearby boar, maybe? Oh, look at that. That buffalo hiding behind the forest. I'm most interested in seeing if Vivi goes for a castle drop on Mentalist. Now remember that China does have the Vietnamese on their team, thanks to Tim, so they will see all of Canada's TC locations. Yo killed a couple of goats. Alright. Goats don't matter too much. More of the Castle Age transition is when you start taking the goats. The rhinos, especially with all the rhino food, that matters now. Will that matter now? And so dock positions, we'll have Hera to the southeast, next to his teammate Chris. Then we'll have 2 players from China, Tim to the south, and Yo just by Tim. Slam will be here, just so we can see him flash. We'll flash him red for a moment with his dock right next to Yo. So basically 3 Canada, 2 China, and then finally our 3rd Chinese player, Lix, on the side here with his dock. Then Mentalist in the corner with his dock. So the only player not over there is Vivi docking the middle. And to be honest, I wouldn't mind Slam just going for a dock in the north. He'd have all of these fish out there all to himself. Did we already discuss that Hera TC war? Okay, people have been talking about Hera's TC. I gotta go back and we'll just focus on Hera's TC here. Unless you mean that first game. Because I heard there was some laming going on here. There's some dead ibexes out there. Yeah, that first game. I don't see Yo laming any of the goats. But he might have done it already. Alright, don't want to go back too far. I'll just catch up to live again. Unless I'm just blind and watched it and didn't see it. Anyway, Lix is getting up, and what is this, Lix? Lix not going for a TC drop, instead he's going for stone walls. He saw the enemy TC and built it anyways. I feel like that situation should still be an admin restart though. As it's like if you're planning to build a TC somewhere and all of a sudden you have to move it, you're just like putting yourself another minute behind. It's just Nomad. I did once have like the foundation placed and then another player build a TC on top of my foundation just as I was about to start it. So then it's like, well, I gotta go run somewhere else and run far enough away that I don't have a TC war. I think you have to use your re if you do that. I feel like that should fall into admin re territory. That's like still kind of the TC war situation. But it's not like you're going to have a ton of scouting of your enemy and then plan your TC based on that. And so we will have Chris going for a tower on the wood line, as Vivi looks like he wanted to go for a fast castle, going for the market and the blacksmith, and is on stone, so it looks like he will indeed be going for that castle drop. On the outside, we will have some galleys. And we'll have Mentalist and Lix going at it with their galleys. Remember, we do have the 4 players from Canada on the outside. So if they all decide to go water, then they should be winning the water. And it looks like Slam's doing some galleys of his own too. Trying to get down into Yo and then Tim's fish. Hera has a lot of fishing ships of his own, where it looks like he's not going for any galleys, and is at risk of losing all of them to Lix. Lix coming forward and should get quite a few kills with those galleys. Can Canada see Vivi's dock in the middle pond? I'm sure they can. Now let's see the house there, so they'll probably be aware of it. Anyway, Lix just coming in here and killing basically all of Hera's fish for free. Hera not doing a fire galley of his own. Just gonna lose everything there. And that's gonna be absolutely devastating for Hera's economy. We see him dropping to the lowest score. Sometimes this is what happens if you're the Spanish, you lose your fish, but normally you want to be running them, at least make Lix have to chase them, use time on the galleys. Here, Hera will be reacting to a tower rush from Yo by a tower of his own. Chris will continue building towers in the middle. 3 galleys overkill the fish? Do they overkill the fish? I thought they killed them exactly in 2 shots. And, well, Hera is up to the castle age, but if we look at his resources, doesn't have the stone to castle drop yet. Vivi is there, and we'll be doing a defensive castle. So all of the towering from Chris, and Chris actually going for scouts. As much as Vivi will still get his castle up, that does mean the castle is here in the middle of Vivi's base, and not over here on Mentalist. Mentalist who had to go for some stone walls and is still fighting on the water against Lix. Looks like looks like Lix might be taking an advantage, but Mentalist still has the numbers. Has to be careful not to lose more fishing ships to the galleys, though. Mentalist even with a couple of demos out. With or without fletching. Fletching doesn't make a difference when you're attacking fishing ships, I don't think. As it only affects the... It affects the damage you do, but it doesn't change the number of arrows you need to destroy the fishing ship. It just really affects the range. So we'll have Hera and Tim going for 2 castles. Much better location for Tim's castle, though. Might not be on the hill, but it will be on top of Hera's TC. And Hera really struggling after that first tower rush from Yo, and now the castle drop from Tim. Tim will be walled to the north of his base, and that'll keep out, and really be walled everywhere, so that'll keep out any counter castle drops. And he'll just be sending some vills back as he starts going for rat and archers. Hera can go for conquistadors, but what damage will he be able to do? Tim is stone walled and the conquistadors won't get in. He can maybe harass Yo. Yo might be in a rough spot. Maybe... Well, we'll see the rams from Tim. Maybe a mistake from Hera in reacting to that castle drop from Tim, not to castle drop Yo. He will protect his stone, but this castle will not really hit anything, just gonna have a castle war with Tim's. How is Slam doing? Slam looks like he's just peacefully booming until the Custier arrive, and here they come. And with them, maybe Slam will find himself in a bit of a jam as he doesn't really have any military to defend. And here comes another round. Wants to get up a TC. He did wall the vills in, so they'll hopefully be safe. Mentalist has just stonewalled himself, and, well, thanks to Lix, Mentalist isn't free booming. He's investing quite a bit on the water. Now, Canada has pretty convincingly won the water on the outside in terms of killing the fish. But at the same time, Hera lost all of his fish. And it's really just Mentalist who's going to be getting a fish boom. Looks like Vivi did go for 8 fishing ships in the middle, so he will need to move to fish traps soon. And Chris, using the vills, just still wants to get in and keep tower rushing Vivi. And, well, looking at the vill counts, maybe we gotta switch to the KD. Lix is a 22-6 eco KD, in part thanks to all the fishing ships he killed out there. And we can see Hera 3-11. Some of that was vills and some of that was fishing ships. And the same thing, Slam. Slam losing all of his fishing ships, even though he did probably kill some fish in return. Yo's lost 10 villagers. And now here comes the push on Hera's castle. This will be run 1, 2, 3 rams. And the castles are so close that he won't even be able to take out the rams with villagers if this castle can hit the villagers. And looks like it can. And he's trying to go for petards against the rams, but that's not gonna work. And the low HP ram, 1 HP, it survives. And Harris struggling and lost his TC, now will be losing his castle, and he's down only to 23 villagers. 4 military, those conquistadors are all that's left of his army. And if you look at his resources, well, he does have enough to build a TC. And remember, his teammates cannot sling him until they get to Imp now. If he spends too much... Well, he's going for the workshop. Going for the siege workshop, wants to push this castle, but still doesn't have a TC. I have a couple of spears here for Yo, raiding the stone mine of Chris, but Chris's tower will fend them off. I'll have to repair Vil from Tim in the ram. That would have been cute. To keep the rams repaired. TC from Chris needing to defend against the Custier, but Vivi doing a really good job with this raid. And now here comes some Lechai from Mentalist, trying to get a retaliatory raid in. But can they do much damage to Vivi? Vivi already does have that defensive castle, and a great spot protecting 2 wood lines of gold and some farms. I'll see him trying to go for a monk defense. Now Mentalist, he walled himself in, but doesn't have much map control. Only that 1 gold mine to work with. Hera is still trying to fight with a mangonel. That workshop he went down right away, or he created went down right away. Gets a good hit from uphill with the mangonel. Gets another good hit on the Rattans. So Tim's micro failing him there. And hello there, Hiyoko. Mangonel misses. Lick's on the outside with some fires. As much as I mentioned, I'd love for Slam to get that dock up there. Looks like Lick had the same idea. And they did actually go Celts on Nomad. Someone in the chat had mentioned that earlier. Lick's using them to good advantage here. Are they on the repair bug patch? No, they are not. They are on the April patch, so this is before Gambesons, when organ guns are still pretty strong. Yeah, and Lithuanians and Spanish are still their old selves on Nomad. Lick's still with the top score and still fighting on the water. Really doing a great job with Celts. Mining some stone, thinking about a castle himself soon maybe. Hera finally in a position to make a TC. Oh, Lick's could one-shot the TC. And he's going for a castle drop. Hera is saying, nope, I can't make a TC there. Yeah, and keeping Mentalist busy on the water so he doesn't have a free boom, that's big too. Slam trying to protect himself with these camels, but Licks, he knows how to castle drop. He's got 25 vills. He knows it takes an entire village to raise a castle, and he's gonna raise one right on Slam's face. Slam will have to run away from the farms as that castle goes up. And things are looking pretty good for Team China as they're up by about 50 villagers. Hera's mostly dead. Slam's castle drop. Chris has been under pressure. The castle drops are encroaching upon his base. And Mentalist has been booming, but not as freely as he might have liked. It's his turn to send a village forward now, as you'll have 21 vills trying to raise up this castle. And Vivi going to go for the defensive tower. And sending Courtiers, he's going to try to deny this. He'll be diving underneath a few monks, though, in the process and gets converted. Those are 3 conversions there. That's big for Mentalist. Now the castle is up, that tower will go down and does not deny it. Now, ram push coming in from Mentalist, and now Vivi might be on the back foot a bit. Needs to defend against this push from our Cyan player. Now Slam, as the Persians, despite the push, is on 96 villagers. It's a nice number for him. And we'll question whether he can turn it into army soon. Because he will need to repel Lix's raids. Here's Wheelbarrow in the forward TC. Oh gosh, Hera's TC. Well, here's the TC war Hera might have wanted earlier. Only this time it'll be late game against Lix's gold TC. And Lix will notice immediately in garrison. And he is so not afraid of this that he's just going to keep adding in farms. And bring over a Mangonel. So Hera really, he's not going to be successful in rebooming this game. Even his farms are being harassed by the fires on the water. And there's the Mangonel for Lix, ready to push this TC. Oh, even killing the Buffalo, Lix with no mercy. And a castle drop here from Vivi. Countered by Slam. I think this will be a both castles go up situation. Slam just sending absolutely every single villager. And they'll have a castle fight now, as to the north, Slam is not walled. Chris will be losing some vills. The Courtier from Vivi will now get into the economy of Slam. Slam, the player on Canada who's up to Imp. Meanwhile, we'll have Tim. He's in the purple. He's up to Imp. He hasn't done much other than some castle stuff early on. He'll be castle dropping Chris. Here's Vivi's first TC under attack because of these early towers from Chris that he built to deny the wood. To the south, looks like Lix still has a presence on the water. As Mentalist has been investing a bit more. Here's Imp on the way for Slam. And the Ward Raiders from Lix will come in now and snipe off that Mangonel, as this will be another set of 2 TCs down for Chris. As the Trebs are popping for Tim. And there's the GG for Hera, and China ties it up 1-1, perhaps as expected, with a win on their home map of Nomad. And China had so little military that the biggest number is Slam 7 galleys. Lix with the most kills. Tim with the best eco. Fastest castle for Vivi. And perhaps most importantly, the most APM is for Hera. And I think we'll probably see that again. Hera with the most APM. Alright, it's time for game number 2 on Migration. Now, if you were on my stream, you saw that my game crashed halfway through this, so instead of having it split into 2 parts where we fast forward, I'm just going to recast it again for YouTube. And, well, to start off, I guess we can maybe speed up the Dark Age. That's what we can do if we're casting Rex. We will have China to the northwest. Mr. Yo will be in the orange as the Dravidians. Vivi will be in the purple as the Hindustanis. Tim will be in the yellow as the Byzantines. And Lix will be in the red as the Japanese. Then to the southeast, we will have Slam in the blue as the Malay. Hera in the green as the Burgundians. Chris in the cyan as the Italians. And finally, Mentalist in the gray as the Saracens. Now, migration, when I made this map for this tournament, is a very heavily changed one from what it was back in AOC. Maybe I can edit a screenshot in. Sometimes you'd even see the middle just kind of ping off to the side and not even spawn on the map. Those were always crazy. And this one's very consistent. The hills in the middle are pretty large and flat at the top, like back in AOC, not like those little bumpy DE ones, so you have more choice for where you place your town centers. And also the islands always are consistently against the edge of the map, and they all have 4 forests. And I've been really happy with this map, and it's actually been one of my favorites to watch throughout this entire tournament. I think it's provided some absolutely amazing games. The start is a bit different. You start with 6 sheep and 4 deer. In AOC, you could have randomly 3 or 4. Ever since HD, it was changed to be always consistently 4. It's a pretty big difference on this one. We've seen some crazy strategies. Sometimes players would go Lithuanians or Persians on the flank and go up on like 14, 15 population and just try to get 2 galleys to the pocket as fast as possible to snipe off the fish. But usually what happens, unless you have some crazy civ composition, is you're going to go galleys on the flank, and pockets will go to the middle. Now, there's a few different ways to play the pockets. We will have Lix and Tim playing together. In the past, China has played a few games where Lix, instead of actually going for galleys on the flank, he'll build his dock in the back and try to hide the fish while Tim goes galleys, and then try to do a forward dock to go fast castle into fire ships and disrupt the pockets. I don't think they've had too much success with that, so they're just playing a bit more standard here. Dravidians have a great team bonus for this map. Every dock gives you 5 population, like it were a house. So essentially, by the time you get up to the feudal age, everyone on your team has saved 50 to 75 wood just by virtue of not needing those houses, and also a bit of villager time too. So as players get to feudal, I think we can go on normal speed now. We'll take a look at the openings. Slam's the Malay is up really fast. We can see he has slightly more pop than does Lix, but Lix will go straight into 3 docks. That's again saving 75 wood from that Dravidian's bonus, and then saving another 150 wood from 2 lumber camps and a mining camp from his Japanese bonus, and then also having the faster working fishing ships. So he's had a great start here. Japanese have been a pretty popular pick as a pocket civ too, but this time they'll be as the flank. Burgundian's pocket from Hera. This is a civ that likes to go for the castles in the middle and use Kustier to try to control it, and we'll see Vivi with the Hindustanis to try to counter that. So we'll start out by having a bit of a galley fight on the flank here between Slam and Lix. Lix with the 3 dock opening will have a slight advantage at the start. Might even pick off a galley here. Slam, no loom on that villager. Has to be careful to keep him alive. Low HP galley for Lix. Gets picked off. Good job microing by Slam. As Slam runs back to his docks, he'll have the advantage that his reinforcements arrive to the fight sooner, and will start to take better fights, especially as he adds that 3rd dock in now to ramp up his production. Weak Phil still forward. I mean, a lot of players skip loom just to go up, or just to save the gold. But I usually like doing loom anyway, just to prevent situations like that from happening where the Veil gets picked off. The extra Pierce armor on the Veil really helps. These are still galley fights without fletching. On the other side, we still do have the galleys from Yo and Mentalist engaged on the left-hand side. So far, no one running through and getting to the pockets, but that's exactly what Lix wants to do now. Could catch the transport ship, but Hera has already gotten his Vils across. He does see it. No fletching, though. Transports are kind of hard to pick off. They have a lot of HP. Significantly more than the fishing ships, at least, and they're pretty speedy. They're actually faster than the galleys ever so slightly. So as long as you're on point, you usually can run away, unless you get trapped. And now Hera's going to be losing some fish. If you look at the fish numbers, it'll be 12 for Hera and 19 for Chris against 20 for Chim and 18 for Vivi. So a few pickoffs here and there, and maybe a more aggressive fishing strategy from China has put them ahead. And we see that reflected in the eco unit count there, 163 to 153. And it looks like on the other side, Yo even trying to break through and get to Chris's fish. Chris will be adding in a few fires here. We've seen Chris play the Chinese on this map before and actually go fast castle demo ships and be pretty effective with it. Oh, but Hera is going to lose even more fish here to Yo, down to 10. And that is just so painful to see for Hera. Now, he wants those fish to boom and control the middle, but his eco is going to be so much farther behind than Vivi's is. And oh, might lose the transport ship here, so won't be able to get back to the middle. And down it goes. On the other side, looks like we still have this stalemate between Slam and Lix, but this is what just an ever so slight advantage gives you if you're on the flank. Even if you're not winning, you're still forcing them to chase, and while they're chasing, you can pick off fishing ships here and there. Maybe another villager Hera needs to run. And Hera down to 8 fish. And we'll have to pay attention to Vil counts as players go to the middle and try to boom. As Chris is just going to go plop down a TC, going to rely on Hera to do the cavalry. We have the stable already out and a few scouts for Vivi, as he's going to plop down 2 more TCs and try to boom. And his plan will probably be to go for camels to counter either the Cavalier or Christier play from Hera. Tim, meanwhile, he's just booming and going for fires. As the Byzantines, one of the common strategies we see, and that Tim will be going for, is the University to go for a fast imp. This is one that, if you do this, you will win the water. There's nothing that can fight with Byzantine fast fire ships in this early migration setup. As long as you don't suddenly lose all your fish and can't make it to imp if your flank just collapses. This is the strongest way to control the water. The question, though, is controlling the water valuable enough to basically sacrifice one player on the middle to go completely for the water? I think the generally most successful approach I've seen is more of a hybrid approach, where you're kind of booming while making fires in the Castle Age, and then going imp for one player going fast fires, or just to control the middle. That kind of means you still have a presence on the land and the water at the same time. Another interesting approach I've seen as, oh, actually, Hera's going to get in and deny this TC. 98.8% and the villagers can't quite finish it. There's another TC, but that goes up. And Hera will get out, but Vivi losing some vills there. As a relic, he's going to start putting in that monastery. Collecting the relics in the middle is pretty important, too. But great play by Hera with the snipes there. Looks like on the other side, Chris will have his TCs walled up by the time Vivi gets there with his light cav. And Mentalist will have his lumber camp under the protection of that TC. Some fires from Chris trying to get through, but a lot of galleys there from Yo to pick it off. So Chris going for more of that hybrid approach with the fires as the Italian pocket instead of the fast imp. Well, as I was saying, one of the interesting approaches I've seen was Australia did this, where they had a Mayans pocket, and the Byzantines did this fire ship transition with the fast imp, as we see Tim already up to the Imperial Age. And then he started slinging. You can't... The tournament does prohibit slinging. If, say, you're in the Feudal Age, you can't sling someone who's ahead of you. But once you get to imp, you can sling everyone. You have to be either an imp or at least an age ahead to sling. And Australia used a pretty good Byzantine sling after getting imp to sling the Mayans. More of a classic sling the Mayan strategy. We'll see how Tim decides to play this. We see that fast fire ships, once you get your Byzantine fast fires and you get your upgrades, even fully upgraded war galleys in the Castle Age only do 1 damage to them. They just have so much armor on them that they completely negate all of the attacks of the war galleys. So that means the only thing you can really do to fight them are fires and demos. And that's a really hard switch for the flank, who might be winning water. And then, ooh, as Lix might not get the war galley upgrade in that dock, you'll have to put it in another one. And he doesn't get it finished. Has to restart it in that dock. Fortunately for him, Slam's going to turn and have to fight the fast fires, and we'll see this here as fast fire comes in. And 3, 2, 1, and there we go. It's 9 Pierce and ship armor right now, compared to the attacks of the War Galleys, which are 9 Pierce and 9 ship. So that's completely negated, and they do just the minimum of 1 damage. It's like rams, but the rams kill your archers, basically. So Slam has to get back, and this is where Canada, if Harry hasn't lost enough fish, he's really going to start losing his fish. As we're going to have a 4th TC for Vivi, as everyone's getting over to the middle, aside from, so far, Mentalist, a bit slow in moving over. Still really fighting on the water against Yo, but Yo getting a slight advantage to go to the middle. Saracens do have faster firing galleys, so pound for pound they do have the better galleys than the Dravidians, but the Dravidian eco for this is just so smooth on migration. I probably do usually favor them until it gets maybe to the late game. And here come these basically battering rams of fires again, and Slam has to rely on demos. He gets a good demo hit, though. Tim not trying to avoid them, and demos might just save Slam for the moment. Still 3 fires there, though. Oh, here comes some demos from Chris. Will these be effective, or will the galleys pick them off? They're gonna get hits on the war galleys, actually. Some nice hits there. And Chris just going full demos. As I said before, he did this as the Chinese, and the Chinese actually have extra HP. So nice little gunpowder bonus for them on their demos. But the Italians just have, well, I mean, they're a great water sieve. But Chris is going full demos and actually being somewhat effective there. Wants them really hitting the fire ships, though, rather than the galleys. On the other side, we also have Tim getting fires to Mentalist, who thankfully does have Vils. He was already on the middle, so losing at this point doesn't mean he's completely off the water. Has to go for a few demos of his own. And, well, Canada still managing to hold against the fires pretty well. Tim slowly but surely pushing, though. You can hold against the Byzantines for a while, but you can't really hold against them forever. But if we look at the Vil counts now, it's 81 for Hera, 85 for Chris. I don't know why I'm clicking it. It doesn't send me on their TC, but it selects all their Vils. Compared to 79, but only 45. That's 79 for Vivi, and only 45 for Tim. So in terms of his villager count, he is very, very far behind these other 2 pockets. And having spent all those resources to go imp, do those fast fires, I think he even did shipwright at one point. It's going to take him a long time to boom back and have army. Meanwhile, in the middle, Hera 2 castles forward, going for the Custier, but will be running into a counter unit in Vivi's camels. Now, this is perhaps the weakness of the Burgundians. Maybe individually, the Custier might be the best unit for controlling the middle, but it is countered by camels. Now, it's still a good enough unit. It can take fights against camels. But right here, this isn't a situation where Hera really wants to be fighting. Now, score lead for China, but that's a bit deceiving at this point because that's just from Tim on the water. You see how high Tim's score is, but you also have to look at the Vil count. Now up to 54, but against basically 100 Vils from both of the Canadian pockets. And we have Hera coming forward to build a castle. As also coming forward, we have a bunch of Vils from Vivi, and it's not going to be a castle race. He's going to get there, and they'll just stand around. Oh, it will be a castle race, as Vivi, I think, has a few more Vils, and also has the monk there. Remember, the monk can just convert the Vils and make them run away from the castle, but instead he's going to turn around and target a camel. As it looks like both of these castles probably will go up. Hera will have 2 castles and also have Pris there. Pris here can start adding in Trebs to try to Treb this castle down. But then Vivi's an Imp himself, and he'll be adding in a Treb. Hera is on the way to Imp. He could go for some Petard. Oh, and he's doing Petards? He's going to go for a Petard rush here. And as they're making their siege units, in the south, we see Tim and Yo finally making their way into the docks here and getting full water control around the south, surrounding the Player Islands and the mainland with fast fires. Cannon galleons could be an option here, especially the elite ones to bombard the coastline. This is still the old patch. Nations Cup didn't change balance during the patches, so Byzantines have elite cannon galleons like they always had. They didn't have the new Mangonel unit from the Realms mod, or whatever they put in for the DLC. And Trebuchet will be launching at this castle, but Hera going with the petards. And already getting a good amount of HP off that castle. Trying to send reinforcement petards from his other castle. They have to dodge that arrow fire to garrison. Now has a good 3 petards inside. Treb from Chris in the back also besieging this castle. Throwing those stones at it. All those dots on the minimap come from Tim's fire ships on the water, as he's gotten up to 71 Vils, but still, compared to 120 and 112 for the other 2 pockets, really far behind. And there go another round of petards. They hit the castle. Another Treb shot should finish it off, but at the same time, Hera's castle is very weak. And that's 3 Trebs out. The castle makes the Treb just before it goes down. Trebs have a ton of pierce armor, so it's actually kind of okay to sit the Treb here under the castle and turn around and shoot at it. I know I've done that in campaign speed runs before, or pacifist runs before. I think I did that in Attila a couple times. Sometimes you just need the Treb to shoot before the units come. And now the question is, okay, the camels, you can go Imperial Camel, and you can fight the Cuirassiers. You can fight Burgundian Paladins really aren't anything special without bloodlines, so you can fight the Cuirassiers. Hera probably won't be going for Paladins. How do you fight the Genoese crossbowmen? That's gonna be tough. As long as there's gold on the map for Chris to make these units, you can't really fight them as the Hindustanis. And what is this? Tim has also landed with a transport ship, sending out a couple of archery ranges. He's gonna try to get on Slam's home island. Slam does have TCs in the middle, and he's doing handcart here. He hasn't reacted to this yet. How long will it be until he sees it? Now, this is a big commitment from Tim when, well, it feels like he could have a useful unit in the middle, right? Like, 76 Vils, he's in the Imperial Age. Could be going for Arbalests as the Byzantines. Could be going even just for skirmishers. Something to fight the Genoese crossbowmen. Help Vivi with the Trebs. This is a nice push getting into those castles on the side. In the south, we have more castles. That's a lot of bombard cannons. They're cheap for Chris as the Italians. Going after this castle from Mr. Yo. Dravidians, kind of an awkward transition. They have Arbs, they have elephant archers, and other than that, it's trash units for them. Don't really have a good gold unit for fighting in the middle, but if you can get a good Arb mass and trash unit, sometimes that's all you need. On the other side, Tim wants a castle on this island, but oh, great wall there from, wait, let's go see that again. Slam's gonna come forward, use the monks to stop the Vils from building the castle, get a conversion on that villager, and then very quickly slam down a slam gate, right, to stop the other Vils from getting in on that castle. Oh, that was absolutely beautiful from Slam. And that's gonna stop Tim from building the castle, I think, because all of a sudden the Vils had to walk around, get over here. It's not finished yet, and Slam's gonna go for a tower, even just a watchtower, but that's gonna force the Vils away. So great defense from Slam. And for the moment, at least, it feels like Tim's landing might be contained. Still needs to deal with the villagers. And we even have the... Oh, I thought that was a guard tower for a second, but now the watchtower upgrade. Or not an upgrade? Well, I guess technically there is an upgrade to unlock it, but the watchtower there from Slam will be a good defense. And Tim's going all in on this landing. Not going to contribute any... Well, I guess he is going to contribute to the middle, trying to add ranges there now. Up to 105 eco units, 84 Vils finally. Still has 21 fishing ships, but they start to be a lot less efficient now because he doesn't have any fish left to fish. Might need to do the fish traps. Looks like we had Mentalist need to do a castle at home just to protect himself from these fires. Maybe still try to get some way to transport back and forth to the middle. Needs murder holes even to deal with all these fires. They can be quite tanky once they get all their upgrades. You know, like, castle should take them out. Bit of a waste from Tim here. Can't really shoot over the castle to hit the Vils unless they really get around the side. If you look at the range, it's just 2.5, no Greek fire yet. In the middle, though, we have Slam at 114 Vils, Mentalist only at 85. He's really falling behind compared to Yo at 110. Genoese crossbows for Chris, up to 34 of them, which is a good number, but not an insurmountable number. 20 imp camels. Let's see how this fight goes. They really damage the camels. The camels don't want to fight them. Nice box formation from Vivi to run away. As more Trebs come out and start to work on this castle from Lix. It's like this entire area of the map here is filled with castles, and this one's just kind of empty and barren. As Yo's trying to defend against Chris. Chris trying to push two sides at once. Clears some of these castles that were, or town centers that were forward from Yo that were kind of pressuring Mentalist and even Chris's own base on this side of the island. And we'll move forward with a few Genbos and a few Bombard cannons. Will be by himself though, no support from Mentalist, just trying to carry this side. Same time, Slam adding in stables and adding in elephants, and he is the Malay. He will have cheap elephants, and all of a sudden, Canada has elephants, Christier, and Genoese crossbows in the middle. Are the Malay elephants good enough though? They only have 3 pierce armor, so even just these Byzantine arbalests that Tim's finally adding can do some damage. And lots of Trebs here from China too. They're pushing back, getting some shots on this castle. 3 Trebs still should be enough to take out a castle. That's not as much as the 11 trebuchets from Chris. 11 trebuchets. But only 34 Genbos. I feel like maybe Chris could use a couple more Genbos here and doesn't quite need that many Trebs. But he wants to just take out castles as fast as possible. Gonna rely on Slam to be doing these elephants. Not even elite battle elephants, just elephants, or battle elephants so far. And they'll be going for that castle. Not all the Trebs deployed. When you make this many Trebs, it's hard to control all of them. This is like Richard in the Saladin Showdown levels of Trebs. Anyway, on the left, it looks like Yo as the Dravidians just going for cannons, skirms, arbs. Not an expensive army, and not going to go for the elephant archers. And it's not like he has a power unit here, but trash and bombard cannons itself can be a very good composition, especially with the faster firing skirms. We'd actually expect them to win maybe 1v1 against the Italians. On the right, looks like Slam still needing to add in guard towers. Now he's done guard tower to defend against this push from Tim. His island's kind of... I mean, he's going to run out of wood to chop there, but the arbs back there for Doc from Tim. This is being annoying. Don't know if it's the best strategy rather than helping the middle, but it will be annoying for Slam. I mean, if it works, right? But so far, it's been a pretty big delay before it's been able to do any real damage. I mean, it's forced some towers up from Slam. I think maybe the big mistake from Slam, though, is relying only on the towers and not actually committing to either Redemption to convert the buildings or Monks to convert the villagers. In the middle, though, Canada just dominating with this push. Getting ready to push. I think there's all the castles over here have been taken out by those Trebs from Chris. They're getting ready to push China off of the mainland, and the only thing that's really left for them is Mr. Yo. But the Christier coming in, they're going to not let that castle go up, and they're probably going to come in and take a great fight against the Arbs. They're on point with knowing where Yo's army is. And we'll start to pick it off, surround the Arbs and surround the Trebs, and that's going to mean that this castle stays alive for Chris. So, score still in favor of China, though. It's getting really close. Canada up by 50 vils. Feels like they have the middle control they need. The only thing they don't really have is the water here that Tim is still controlling. And Tim's going for a transport ship. Oh, Slam never got rid of the vils, so he's going to transport and he's going to go for Hera's Island. And we'll see how long Hera takes to react to this. They are raiding at the north. They have Genbos under the TCs. Imp Camel's just trying to pick them off. Got a 63 vil lead here for Canada. But here comes Tim. Can't build that range because of the farm. Hera hasn't noticed this yet, and Tim's going to get an archery range up. Doesn't have any army here. But we'll get the range. Going for double ranges, actually. And Hera hasn't noticed. He's too busy fighting at the front. He wants to do a forward castle. This is a get out of this game castle. And, well, this is Canada looking to really drive the stake into the heart of China here and take this game number 2. Remember, Canada gets a 1-game advantage for coming from the upper bracket, and China won Nomad as game number 1. This is Canada's home map, and let's see. Tim now has Arbs on Hera's island, and Hera hasn't reacted to this. Tim is going to outpost there. He's just going to outpost there and see what's on this island. The outpost. Oh god, Byzantines, free town patrol. One outpost sees the whole island. Oh, that is glorious. Now, Hera finally reacting. He had deleted his TC, so he stopped queuing Vils there and just added in Mills. But that's going to make him very vulnerable. He has nowhere to garrison the Vils. And all of a sudden, look at his Vil count. It's starting to plummet. He's down to 105. He has 56 Custier in the middle. But his population is kind of overall dropping, only at around 160. He's not at 200 pop. Has a guard tower now, but he's lost a lot of Vils here. Now down into the 90s. And these few Arbs have 20 kills. Now there goes Hera's Eco from a 4-villager landing from Tim. Now this push still continuing. More Trebs here. As it looks like Canada has actually taken out the monastery and is starting to take the relics. So they're still pushing fully, taking out another castle here from Vivi. Vivi, lucky he doesn't need castles for his units like Hera does, can just add in stables. Still 7 Trebs left for Chris. He's been doing a lot of damage with them all game, and Hera will be picking up the rest of those relics. Vil counts, though, about even, and I think a lot of that just comes from the 20-plus Vils that Tim has now killed at Hera's home island. And I mean, yeah, a lot of Hera's eco is in the middle. Oh, here we have Vivi trying to do another castle. And yo, well, Javidians are nothing to laugh at. And remember, these elephants from the Malay, only 4 Pierce armor now that they're elite. They can't get any more upgrades. And they're just going straight into Halbs and Arbs. That's not really what the Malay want to be fighting, and Slam's running out of numbers. Now remember, the gold on this map is finite, and you don't really have great trade because you have the water. You can't really set up markets, and the mainland is kind of awkward for the pathing of the trade cogs. We see China trying to go for some trade. We can maybe switch the score over to the trade numbers. So 30 trade for China, none for Canada. But the important thing is that Vivi, he's been able to keep making these imp camels. He's not been stopped anywhere. And Tim just completely dominating that island from Hera, whereas Slam was able to defend. Hera reacted way too late. And still has some fires in the back. Isn't even much left on the home island from Chris. Mentalist still needing to use that castle there. And with this castle, it feels like maybe Vivi's starting to push a bit on this side. And we have some Yasama towers now in Halbs as the flanks are getting involved. Licks now with the Japanese getting on the right side, and Hera going for the Custier. Might start running into trouble. He doesn't have that access to that gold. And we see now Galleon for Mentalist, maybe thinking about getting back on the water with those faster firing Saracen Galleons. And Hera, he might need a hand cannoneer switch to deal with the Halbs. Remember, Slam's the Malay, he could go Arbs, but he did opt for the Elephants, which doesn't give him an easy switch against the Halbs. Hera, he has numbers though, and it might be a good 24 Halbs, but I think Hera can still get in with the Custier, maybe snipe the Trebs. He'll want to do that to keep his castle alive while trebbing down the towers. Something else we learned in the Saladin Showdown. Towers take a long time to be cleared. And, well, we just have Yasama towers from Licks. Hera has some Vils in that castle, so he can repair. And he wants to dive the Trebs, but he can't because of all the Halbs. And his Custier is just going to be taking fire from those keeps. And now here comes some Imp Camels, and all of a sudden, Hera doesn't have Slam anymore. Slam, he's been pushing on the left-hand side, but not really pushing all that well. They weren't really able to take out all these castles. They finally did take out Vivi's, though. And now the elephants are coming in, and it feels like Canada still controls all of the middle, but Tim is still with that advantage on the water. Landing the islands, and I'm looking at some yellow here. It looks like Slam's island is actually getting pushed into now. This group of units has 10 kills on them, and all of a sudden, well, still a 100 Vil lead for Canada, but Hera's island, basically killed by Arbs. These Arbs have 31 kills on them. Hera's lost 31 vills on that island. And Slam about to fall victim to the same fate, as more siege rams now being added in from Tim on this island. And without any military units, just relying on the towers, Slam's gonna go down. He's gonna lose the rest of his vills here. In the middle, though, it feels like they're pushing. And that Slam, he has elephants. He has elephants for days. 33 elephants. The raids here are from Mentalist. He's finally adding in units in the middle. He'll have Hussar raids. But Dravidian trash. Really good. Skirmisher is holding off Slam and Chris. Chris no longer on the right-hand side where the Genbows were so effective earlier. Mentalist trying to add the skirms, but this is where the Genbows probably would be useful. Get Chris over here and get Hera on the other side, maybe see if they can try to swap. But Hera's getting pushed. He's getting pushed. He has no eco. Look at that, 72 eco units, 72 vills, no more fish, 18 Christier. Hera's just kind of lost his entire population. And we have another group of fire ships attacking this castle. Not going to get in there. It looks like Slam trying to get back on the water to deal with some of this mayhem that Tim's been causing. But that will be a pretty big investment for him when he might need to be instead focusing on the middle. Tim with a group of Arbalests there. It looks like they did re-destroy the monastery that had captured the relics. And we'll be getting their own relics back. And in fact, they're actually ready to steal Canada's relics. Canada does have the score lead now. But that's a lot of elephants from Slam on the left. Hera might be falling behind on the right, but they're really pushing into Yo right now. And still, Tim doesn't have that much of a presence on the middle, and Vivi's really been pushed back to that one castle. Vivi's still safe and sound on his home island. Everyone on China still has a safe farming eco on their home island. Maybe Slam now finally getting some fires there, but fires can't shoot that far inland. And we'll have Lix going for a few of those Japanese fish traps that are faster than farms. Trebs will now be taking out the TC. And down it goes. And now Slam back with a few more elephants, maybe to help turn the tide here, but it is Japanese halberdiers to deal with the elephants. These lightly armored Malay elephants. Even the skirms can be annoying. I mean, 7 attack that will do 3 damage to the elephants. And, well, it feels like you need some halbs over here. Hera just has no eco to transition to halbs, trying to add in skirms. But all of a sudden, Hera, he hasn't been at 200 population for a long time. And this raid from Tim on his island just has been absolutely devastating to his economy. Starting to lose some eco on the mainland too, but lost the relics. Looking at the trade numbers, no one really has trade left. Look at Chris's KD, 752 kills. No one on China really can match that, but Slam doesn't really have that many kills. As tanky as the elephants are, they haven't been killing units. Looking at the eco KD, Hera's lost 175 eco units this game. That's a lot of vills to replace. I guess the same could be said for Yo. Tim's killed 186 vills. Like Tim, just the eco slayer. On the left-hand side, it feels like Hera's trying to expand over here now, adding in extra TCs to reboom. Rebooming an hour into the game, but Yo's still there with a few barracks, hasn't been completely cleaned. Still there with ranges, no quick ram transition from Canada to clear the rest of those buildings. Canada does have a pretty good score lead, and Slam still does have elephants, but gold's gotta run out soon. Will Canada be able to make that transition to trash units as the gold runs out? And it feels like they still do have control of the entire middle. But I guess usually the middle is far more important than the islands, but China has, at this point, 6 of the islands. Slam's lost all of his eco too to Tim. And And the Canada pushing in with their elephants. Could this be the final push they need? Still, it's only 2 castles left on the mainland for China. You push those castles, and all of a sudden, you can swap to hussars and start raiding all of the farms. Maybe China just builds the farms in their home islands, but it looks like Slam has at least gotten some fires back on the water, so it's not like Tim has full control anymore. On the left, Yo down to 33 vills. If you thought Hera was doing poorly, Yo's doing even worse. It's down to 240 vills to 419, so Canada's still with a much better economy. In terms of villager numbers, at least. Let's see how well they can be put to work, though. It feels like the map is starting to run out of gold as we're seeing more trash units being added into the team compositions. No real trade being added. We'll keep an eye on the economy. Everyone really low on gold. So now Slam's gonna need something other than elephants. And I mean, if you look at the trash units, Japanese for halbs, Dravidians for skirms, Byzantines just for the cheap trash units, Hindustanis for the hussars, versus Malay who lack the armor on the skirms, Italians who don't get halbs, Saracens who don't get halbs, Hera who has no eco to make the transition to halb. Right now, Canada might be in a bit of a pickle in terms of their switch to the very late game as we enter over an hour. They're still relying on Slam's elephants, but that's a lot of Japanese halbs that'll probably take them out. And if this army goes down, then what'll they have to deal with the Arbs? Look at the vill count, that's still 200 more vills for Canada, but almost 100 less army, about a 70 difference there. And Canada's still with the score lead, but getting a bit smaller. Tim with another landing, not going with vills this time, just some Arbs and a ram. Those Arbs still have 20 kills from those other vills. And they're just gonna stand right under Chris's TC. And oh, Chris hasn't noticed this. And this is actually a genius move from Tim. Now he's gonna kill the vills near the TC before Chris notices, so now Chris can't garrison. He can go and try to run, but by the time he gets there, like, the Arbs will kill the vills. Oh, I guess he can garrison now. There go 4 of them. Can one ram kill the TC before the Arbs go down? I think it can. He's going to use the Arbs to make sure the vills can't repair. And that TC, a couple more ram hits. And Arbs can focus it too. Arbs actually do a good deal of damage to TCs. Or at least to Castle Age TCs, and if they get to 8 pierce armor. But it's still 2 damage for arrow. Not that bad. And that's going to go down. So that's 3 islands Tim has conquered. Almost like he's playing a campaign. On the left-hand side, Yo, 30 vills. Canada still up by 150 vills, but that's not the 200 they were just up by. Slam still has a few elephants there. Mentalist has a bit of gold left as the Saracens. He can use that market. But looking at that army count, just about even. But it feels like China's starting to push back. And we do still have those 2 relics out there in the middle of nowhere, and another 3 in that monastery. So relic advantage definitely for China in terms of the gold that gets generated. Usually they don't matter too much in team games, but when you don't have trade on migration, every bit of gold matters. And we're gonna have another huge fight in the middle right on this hill. Canada does have the hill. And they still have an eco lead. It feels like Yo should just be out of the game at this point, and they should be playing 4v3. Like 30 vills, 30 military. One good fight against Yo probably should wipe him out. Deploying the Trebs from Lix, China now retakes the score lead. Starting to get ahead in army, though. But what does Canada not really have? Hussars. We have a few here from Mentalists, but nowhere near the numbers that Vivi has. And that's a lot of Byzantine skirms, 50 skirms, and even a few arbalests, some gold units being added in. The Japanese have good skirms too, and Japanese halbs. And just so much trash here from Canada that even the elephants of Slam aren't going to hold up to it. And looking at the army counts, down 220 to 180. Canada may be winning this fight though. Elephants still are tanky. They finally are getting the hussars they need, maybe. That's a lot of skirms from all the players now, even Hera contributing some skirms, but Hera's still not really at 200 population. About 600 pop to 500 pop. And now that the Hussar shield is down, we don't really have halbs here. Slam trying to add in pikemen, but how's he ever going to get the gold to do halb? Maybe Mentalist could use some there. He's selling the stone, just as I look at it. Some Saracen market magic. Give the gold to Slam, and that's so that Slam can do Hal. And there we are. Oh, I looked at that right at the right time there. On the left-hand side, still feels like Yo should be pushed back. And off the middle, we have Mentalist on the water. Alright, look at that Vil count for Canada. That keeps dropping. And, well, it was like a 200 Vil difference. Now it's only an 80 Vil difference. And, well, more raids on the right-hand side as Slam's eco and Hera's eco both now being devastated. First on the water by Tim, and again on the land as the Hussar raids are coming in. Some rams here from Tim. Looks like they made their way over to the mainland, and Slam will have to try to fight them with Vils. But they will slowly take out a few towers. And a few skirms still poking in on the halbs. And Yo, 37 Vils, but still contributing somehow. Still pumping out skirms. And Dravidian skirms, 1v1, will win against any other elite skirmisher. Maybe the, well, actually, I don't know about that. Maybe Lattle skirms or the Mayan skirms with the extra javelin would win. I was thinking that the Imperial skirms could win. But they have good skirms. That's what I'm trying to say. Canada, though, collapsing on the front. Still down in military, and now Vil counts are even as the Hussar raids are getting in all throughout their economy. And it feels like Canada just got trapped at this point where they didn't have the gold to transition to trash units, and Hera was just stuck on the Kustier and couldn't make that switch to the Halb light cav skirm composition he needed. This is now, there's no gold left on the map. If you look at the trade, no one really has any trade. 3 trade calcs to 1. And it's just about even now in Vils, but Canada dropping in military. Dropping in military as they're losing all of their eco. And Yo is so much farther out of this game than anyone else, but Canada collectively, China has the score lead. And they're falling back. It still looks like they have more control of the middle. And Tim, just MVP for Tim this game, using the Byzantines, controlling 1, 2, and 3 islands. Just killing so much of that eco. And I just can't help but think, if Slam had defended this landing a bit better, maybe just done something to deal with those Vils, right? Just commit a bit more to monks to convert them, paid a bit more attention to it, and I know it's hard while you're spamming the elephants in the middle, that maybe Tim gets stopped and then can't land Hera. As later on, we do have Slam getting back on the water. That might have prevented other landings. Maybe we could have done Thalassocracy at some point on the docks, too. Alright, now Canada's pushing. I mean, Canada's getting pushed. China's pushing. And Canada doesn't have the army to stop this. 150 to 230. And looking at the resources, they really don't have the eco to add in more army anymore. Slam has a bit of food, but... I mean, Slam has a bit of wood, Hera has a bit of food, that's about it. They're still pushing on the side. Yo still had around 36 Vils and 20 military. But still gold units, the Trebs. For Licks, right now Canada has no way to stop the Trebs. And this push will just continue. Only these 2 more castles, or 3 more castles from Chris. Remember, he was doing such a good job early on with the Genoese crossbowmen. If you look back at his KD, still has a KD of 1,100. Or 1,100 kills, but Slam doesn't really have that many kills, 455. The elephants were tanky, but they weren't really killing much. And there is the GG from Canada. As their army numbers have fallen too far down, they can't replenish, and they can't hold off China. As China will take that game to take a 2-1 lead. And there we are. Most kills for Chris, fewest losses for Tim, but most buildings destroyed by Tim, those rams. I guess all the farms he destroyed probably counted as a building. Most wood for Chris, most gold and stone for Hera, most food for Vivi, though. Oh gosh, what is this? Can I... to all resources gathered as a team. Like, it looks like Canada should be super far ahead in terms of all resources gathered, right? Like, I look at this, it's cyan, blue, green, and gray compared to, it looks like the purple there. Like, all of them individually had more resources collected than China. Is that what the eco tab is? Yeah, it is. They had so many more resources collected. And they had Chris with that insane KD. But I think it's just Tim's push on their islands ruined their eco and they couldn't tech switch to the trash unit war. Even with all that map control they had. And great job by Lix pushing with the Asama towers and the Trebs. Great job by Yo still finding ways to hang on. And Vivi there carrying in the middle with all of his camels. Yo actually had the most kills on his team, despite being dead for the last part of the game. Hera with the fastest APM, but that doesn't really help him out. So that's the cast of the wreck. So I didn't be in two parts. Now we'll get back to game number... the third game today, which will be, I guess, game number 4 in the series from the live stream. And so we'll have Canada to the northwest. This is their home map after dropping first Nomad, perhaps as expected, and then Migration, one of their other home maps, to China to fall down 1 to 2. China will be to the southwest. We'll have Lix as the Teutons versus Chris as the Teutons. Teutons mirror on one flank, and then Vivi as the Poles against Slam as the Celts on the other flank. So different in usage of the Poles. China putting them on the flank, whereas Canada will have Hera in the green as the Poles in the pocket, alongside Mentalist as the Khmer being the other pocket. Then on the opposite side, we will have Yo as the Magyars, and Tim as the Incas. Alright, that's a surprise. Normally you see the Scout Civs. Incas pocket? What do they do in the feudal age? Well, they can't make eagles, that's for sure, because there's no gold in the middle. They can't make archers either. They can go spear and skirmisher, but usually that's the flank roll. They can go tower rush. So is this Mr. Yo does the cavalry while Tim tower rushes? Alright, so non-standard civ choice here for China. And, I mean, how often do you see an American civ as a pocket? If you're not just doing random civs. This will be crazy for him. So 2 Vils on the outside for Slam. And we'll have Chris going to the outside as well. To the back, we'll have Mentalist. And so Hera will be the only one from Canada doing the lumber camp in the middle. On the other side, we have the outside lumber camp from Yo, middle lumber camp from Tim, outside from Lix, and still no lumber camp from... Oh, actually, there we are. Middle lumber camp for Vivi. Building the lumber camp in a spot where I bet he'd also like to place a mill. Right by those berries. And, well, even better than mill, he has a Folvark. And remember, that will also count as a house. We have Loom on the way for Mentalist. Inkaville plus Tower Rush. I imagine that's what Tim has to do. We see Hera and Chris both Xing the lumber camp positions here. And, oh, they're going to try to jump a Veil. They have 3 scouts in the area. Neville is on the top of a hill. They're going to try to bring her down. And Yo's going to try to keep her up on top. He'll bring the rest of his Vills over to try to fight. Looks like Hera not attacking the right Vill there. And they got her. Hera needs to save his scout. This Vill's on very low HP. Yo has to bring the rest of his Vills over to help out. But that's a dead Vill for Canada using the 3 of their scouts in combination. But there is a lot of HP down off of Hera's scout. And losing that in the Dark Age before they get to the Feudal Age, when the scout becomes stronger. No gold in the pit, but there is stone. Yep, exactly. Each player should have, I believe, 4 tiles of stone available in 2 groups of 2, but there's no gold inside in the middle in Chaos Pit. And we see Canada already starting to wall up. So this map has become a lot less chaotic than we saw earlier in the tournament, where it would be both flanks douching the pockets. But I think teams had learned how to defend against that. As you see Tim going forward with 5 villagers. Remember, the Incas, this is the old patch, but it's not so old that they still have Feudal Age blacksmith upgrades. Yep, they do get gold when mining the stone. You are correct there. That does make poles very valuable for the middle on this map. Pole Trush is super strong here, yep. But usually you see them from the middle because of the Folvarks and the ability to pump out scouts and then go Schlachter privileges. But here's Tim going forward with his Incas, going for the tower. And Canada has not scouted that somehow. Mentalist just turning around to take a look now. And there he'll see the Vills and the tower. Tim already getting ready for tower number 2. Has his eagle there to fight the scout. Remember, in the Feudal Age, the scout will be stronger than the eagle. And Mentalist already sending Vills over to start fighting down this tower. And Hera defending with his scouts too. But here that low HP of Hera's scout will come back to haunt them, as he won't have the scout to engage in the fight against these Vills. We'll have to wait to get more scouts out of his stable. Both players with a very low HP scout here. Let's see if they... Oh, can't even be useful there. And they both just get picked off by that tower. Now the spear is forward from Tim, so the scouts can't really engage here. Now with 2 spears, maybe a bit late, but he keeps the tower alive. Mentalist didn't... He sent 5 villagers, but it wasn't that full-on entire village to take out that tower. And Hera now will have to defend with a tower of his own. And so far, Tower Rush seemingly effective for Tim. On the flanks, more just tower fighting here. Chris wants to control that stone from Lix. Lix will have to go back to the other one should he want to make another tower. Teuton versus Teuton, so the extra Vills kind of cancel each other out. You can garrison lots of Vills there. Lix will win that tower fight and be able to go back to his stone. Maybe needs another tower by the berries. On the left, looks like barracks is more towers than just spears, but Slam getting pushed back by the looks of it. Vivi maybe with an advantage in the spears as the poles versus the Celts, and he's going forward for a tower rush, also trying to hit Hera. So instead of the early douches we had seen, it's now Incas going for the towers. Difference here is that Canada will have 2 pockets both going scouts. China will have 1 pocket going for the tower rush. And we'll have Slam just running around, trying to keep these Vills alive as he's being chased. Yo with scouts, but remember, he will be 1 stable, or 1 player going scouts versus 2 players going scouts. So can he keep the numbers up that he needs to defend all of his teammates who are not walled yet? Usually you go for the... I've seen teams going for the team wall on this map, but China, while they've started working towards it, don't have that wall up just yet. So they do have to worry about scouts running in throughout their eco. We'll have another tower from Tim as Hera looks to add another tower of his own to try to defend this. Hera's TC is also right there, so Tim has to be careful not to walk too close to it. You don't like the Sicilian donjons for their trush? Now, spears in the tower do not shoot. Can't just take their spears and throw them out the windows. Hera, again, needs to be careful not to lose villagers.
Co to wam jest?
Moves weak Vills back towards the tower. And Tim will get back. Remember, the Inca towers are cheaper. And now Tim can go try to hit some of Mentalist's farms. I think he'll work his way around, force Mentalist to add in a tower. Looks like we got to the outside from Mentalist here. And Canada will have room to start mining gold. And oh, actually, Slam got to the outside and managed to wall in Mr. Yo. Looks like China had gotten their scouts out. But remember, Vivi had been chopping the middle, not the outside. Yo is now walled in. And around the sides, we'll have the tower here from Chris. And China actually getting to the outside so fast that they've managed to... Or Canada getting to the outside so fast that they've trapped China inside. And Hera will have the highest APM in all of these games. But even that's not fast enough to react everywhere he needs to react. Looks like the scouts are getting in at the back. Slam not able to react with the quick walls at the right time. And Hera will have to wall behind that along with Slam. Slam has 5 Vills in that tower, but he's been running for a long time. And these towers from Vivi look like they won't be dislodged anytime soon. Hera gonna send Vills to try to knock that one down. But this tower will attack. Even remember, on the hill, its primary arrow will still get that hill bonus. Ooh, the walls weren't finished. And there's still a hole in there somehow. Slam coming over with some more spears. In the middle, Mentalist still running around with scouts. Looks like he's running into a couple of spears. Scouts themselves have 4 kills, though. And this is Chris. Now that we have the tower from Lix to try to break out. Chris is just going to come very far forward to get a forward wall. Mine that stone. And oddly enough, this will be him walling himself off from Lix should Lix ever manage to break out or chop out. Chris might need to get one more tile of wall just there in case that tree gets chopped. Try to debate the tower fire and get there. Hera is still struggling with all the towers, trying to just have the score lead. And Hera is still trying to defend himself as Slam somehow manages to keep that tower alive after Hera had fought with the villagers. Still only an 8 Vill difference. And Canada does have the advantage in being outside. So, Yo completely just stonewalled in. No chopping at all on the other side. And Lix dealing with Chris and this tower rush to keep him trapped inside to the northeast. Very interesting game of Chaos Pit so far. This is certainly a unique strategy I haven't seen in the tournament yet. And, well, it feels like this is just a lot of punishment. Tim, nothing really stopping him from building his lumber camp on this wood line. And then he might have been able to get outside. Same thing here for Vivi. I know you end up with Vill fights everywhere, but you can always try to wall them in. The only player who didn't go to the outside for Canada was Hera. And that's why I put my water in a closed bottle, so that when I knock it over, nothing breaks or spills. As the scouts from Yo still getting in, a couple of low HP Vills here from Slam. Might be in a bit of a jam, as the scouts there do have +1/+1, no bloodlines. But there are Magyar scouts for that free forging. A couple of spears coming over, but remember that's only 1 spear for Slam, one of those is Vivi's. And 10 Vill lead for China, big military lead 27-6. As it feels like China's winning the middle, but Canada's winning the race to get to the outside, maybe. As Chris trying to go for a market, but double towers from the Teutons, those will fire a lot of arrows. Those will shoot a lot of arrows. I see Mentalist wall this off, like he has here. I think he's way ahead of you there. So we'll have 3 players on China up to the Castle Age, but both pockets for Canada up a bit faster for them. Slam just feels like he's in a lot of trouble this game. Now, that being said, he has gotten to the outside and is mining gold, no problem. And will be getting a set of walls up to protect his opening. Chris already stone gated his opening, just no problem going for the stone walls. But now Lix has gotten out. And maybe Chris not fast enough with a second layer of walls behind that to keep Lix contained. And China will now get to the outside. Mentalist coming over with some scouts, though, might be able to pick some vills. The spears there from Lix will be important in these fights. And Mentalist, aware of the spears, will pick one vill, get one enemy scout, and then try to run with his own scouts. Doing a light cav now. And he might even be fine to pick off the spears now that he does have light cav. 7+1, and he will pick off all of those spears. No problem for the light cav. And now he'll come over and see that gold as Chris is going for another tower. And this wall here, working out pretty nicely for him, giving him a spot to build towers that can't just be knocked down by vills. Yo and Tim both want to move out. Tim's going to have to go for a tower of his own, but will be towering against the Teutons. And he'll still be the remaining Chinese players still in the feudal age. And Light Cav still picking off villagers. Lots of low HP vills going down for Tim. And a couple more low HP ones trying to build that tower. They'll both go down. Tim being sloppy with his villagers there. He's now dropping population down to 43 vills. In the back, though, some light cap from Mr. Yo are getting into the back of Hera as he's trying to build a TC. The rest of Canada now up to the castle age, with Chris being our final player. There are just towers everywhere at the front, but Canada has moved their farms to the back. Everyone aside Yo has forward towers. Oh, look at this slam. He has no mercy here. He's going for a siege workshop. He's going to look to mangonel down this opening here. We'll have Vivi going for a tower near Slam's passage to the outside, as he is still raiding with knights. This is where Slam will respond with stone walls. Might even need some more stone walls to make sure knights don't break in. And there's a ram. Might need a second defensive mangonel at home. And that's exactly what he's doing with that back workshop. Is the forward mangonel, and we'll be doing a back mangonel to help stop the ram. Does not want knights in his eco. And we're going to have a castle drop from Lix. Lix castle dropping to deal with Chris's trollstone wall. And what is this TC? Why does Yo have vills back there? And alright, well, Yo did get out through here. And Chris, as much as he had success with those towers, I think it's a big mistake to let Lix out here. And now all of a sudden China has room on the outside. And Tim's going to have a TC up in the north, and that's going to be difficult for Canada to scout. They're not going to be paying attention to that. Now the scouts from Yo getting into the back of the eco. Still only a 7 villager difference somehow. It feels like Canada's eco is now starting to struggle as Mentalist needs to keep his villagers garrisoned. And Chris just needs to keep building towers everywhere to prevent the light cab from raiding him. Tim going with lots of spears. Can these knights fight the spears? They have +1. They're Khmer. I might get to a situation soon where he just needs to take a fight with knights, maybe along with Hera, just to make sure that the spearman numbers don't grow too much. Two of them combined their forces here. Had about 10 knights fight the spears. They could probably take a really good fight, but Mentalist is just going to go for it himself. Nice quick walls from Tim to keep his vill safe, and he'll get up another tower and deny even more farming space. Mentalist, I guess those 2 mills are, I guess, from the berries. Hopefully he realizes he doesn't need the mills for the farms, but I do that too sometimes. Building mills even as Khmer. Can Tim ever get up to castle? His resources aren't quite there yet. He's getting closer. Yo with the light cav still fighting even against knights, and Yo just has such a huge score lead now. Magyars will have a good imp transition as well. This now hole in the wood line near Hera is a big overchop that these cav can just pour in past. And things falling apart here for Canada. And Slam trying to wall. And the vills are going down. And it is looking more like a 3-1 China result after this game. And that still means they have African clearing as a home map. Update on Vivi's woodline. Did this workshop do damage? Maybe a bit. Looks like he's still trapped there. Looks like Slam has managed to protect himself with the mangonels. Tim is up to the Castle Age, the last missing link for China's plan of getting all their players to the Castle Age. And Yo still has his TCs here. He's ready to boom. He's adding in the archery ranges. He'll be making that Cav Archer switch with the Magyars. And Cav Archers should be pretty good against the Poles when they lack that final armor upgrade for their knights, as long as they can get a good number of Cav Archers. Mentalist still trying to stabilize, fight the light cav in the middle. But that won't be Yo's plan for much longer. As we look at Canada's line of sight, they still have no idea that Yo is back here and that their defenses have been breached. So Chris will try to make progress, attack or mangonelling this TC. I actually can't help but think maybe Yo would have been better off going stables instead of ranges. In that I'm thinking a quick attack with knights that could get under TCs might be more devastating than the Cav Archers. Super impressed by Tim here. Tim has been playing this great. This is a strategy I don't think Canada had seen yet, and maybe having a bit of a struggle adapting to it. Great decision making here from China, and great daringness to go for it. Is Yo there? I don't know. I'll have to take a look when the game's over. We'll just replay it and just see how Yo gets here. Because I know that he must have snuck out here when Chris had this wall up. Mangonel down. And, well, Mangonel fight still going on for Chris. Still trying to take out this TC from Lix. It's almost down, but here come the Knights. He needs, I think, 3 more Mangonel shots. He's not going to get it. He sees the Knights and he's running away, trying to use the pikes. Should be able to get it now, if he goes for it. We have Hera finally with his knights has scouted what Yo's doing in the back, but Yo's going to get a castle up before those knights can do anything. We'll have Imperial Age for Lix, so he can start Trebin with this castle. Even if his TC goes down, his Trebs will soon be popping. This is where I think Chris needs to maybe run the relic back and start thinking of another layer of walls. And maybe a couple layers of walls, because you don't want Trebs to cut through the trees. You want to make sure your walls will protect you and not let these Cav just run in. And you also want to make sure that you keep Yo isolated so that he can't group up with his teammates. At the same time, though, all these light Cav are everywhere for Yo. Getting throughout Hera's eco and throughout Mentalist's eco. And here come the Cav Archers. Yo's picking off villagers. And there's the GG from Hera, as Canada still can't find a way to win a game even on their own home maps. And China takes a 3-1 edge over Canada. Yo just can't be stopped. And look at that, 137 kills. Biggest eco by far. And everything working together there, even with Hera's APM. Couldn't save all of his vills. So we'll have, triple, or no, it's just a double pond. That looks like a double pond. Looking for another triple. See if this map has any, I don't think there are any triple ponds on this one. Slam had a perfect triple pond fish boom. But anyway, it looks like we won't have any TC fights. What we will have is Vivi to the very west of the map as the Mayans. He's somewhat next to Slam as the Mongols. And then Yo as the Cumans in the bottom corner. Going up the side, we'll have Hera as the Qajars right next to Lix's Vil on that mill. We'll then have Mentalist as the Cumans. Chris as the Chinese in the middle. Then growing up, Chim as the Bulgarians. And finally, Lix as the Turks. So Turks, Bulgarians feel like there are civs that want to be near each other to castle drop or Krepos drop. Oh, hello, Ornlu. China is strong. If you have a chance, Ornlu, go back and watch game number 2 on migration, because that was an awesome game. And Lix will realize the TC will go up right next to his villager and will run away, just wasting 100 vil on, or 100 wood on that mill. I'd have been able to just put the Vil on that side, but still pretty close to the TC. Well, Hera is the Qajars. Maybe Lix will hope that Hera accidentally attempts to put the sheep into this mill. As Chris will grab the sheep. And as the Chinese, of course, when you're not docking on this map like you are on Nomad, lacking the wood at the start doesn't hurt. Why do you build a mill early this far from the TC? Because your villager is so far on the other side of the map that you're not going to get it back to the TC in time to help build the TC. So, like, if you have 2 vills right next to each other and you plop down a TC and a vill on the other side, I've seen teams do this where they just put the mill down and start gathering from the shorefish. Yeah, Ornlu's traveling. You get plus 50 food, but you lose your most important building, the mill. Well, on this map, don't you usually build several mills? Like on the different ponds anyway? One of the things that I did do on this map was I gave each of the ponds 3 trees, and I added a bit more wood in the middle. So you can usually collect wood at your TC, and you don't need to rush the lumber camp up right away. You build 1 to FC. From what I've seen, players usually go feudal to fight. I've seen scouts, I've seen tower rushes. I mean, I've seen douches too. When I play, it's usually straight FC into a castle drop, but that's kind of risky, I think, with all the archers players make now. Look at all the Xing from Lix and then from Vivi up here. Don't know what that X is. Maybe he's saying that's where he's sending sheep to try to find someone. China has found Hera, and I'll probably have found Slam and recognize he's over there. And they may even have found Chris. They should see the elephants in the fog at least. I think they'll have found Chris. Mentalist with the two TCs in a corner by himself is in a pretty good spot just to do some cumin boomin and go for those Cyan Paladins. I mean, Io, Vivi, Tim, Lix, all not really in a position where they can get to him. And then he has his two other players, Hera and Chris, kind of in front protecting him. This kind of feels like a game where Canada would then want their three players just to be as annoying as possible, and then try to give Mentalist that free cumin boom into the Paladins. As if you can get there, you can just overrun people with it. that one mill. If well, I hope Hera is not colorblind, because he needs to recognize that is not his mill in case he accidentally drops food off at it. We're doing a barracks. Actually, it's the Gujars. Where's Hera's mill? It's kind of an important building to have as the Gujars. Oh, there's his mill. He did the same thing. He built a mill with one villager, and he has 10 sheep inside of it. As that vill's taking the shorefish. So, oh wait. Do the sheep still make the sound? Oh yeah. I don't know if that's a capture age thing, but listen to that. The sheep, they're in the mill, but they're still making the sheep sounds. Anyway, hair is up. Does it still do it in the feudal mill? Yeah, it does. Sheep fighting the donkey for the sleeping spot. And yeah, that's the donkey noise over here, but no sheep. Anyway, we'll have Hera adding in the stable as he's luring an elephant at the same time. And he will be looking to go for some scouts. Mentalist still in the Dark Age, looking up on 19 villagers. Could maybe try to fast castle off of that, but feels like this is more of a scouts build from him too. Well, actually, wait, never mind. He's the Cumins. He was just, what am I saying? He's popping down the second TC, and he's going to be cumin booming. The one civ where that population is going to mess me up. And where is the second TC going to be? Getting double bed X. Where is the second TC? I imagine, like, out there by the wood and the stone would be a good spot, or over there. Maybe here between gold, shorefish, and another wood line. But actually, he is just going scouts. So not going for the boom right away, going scouts first. And we'll have, looks like a tower rush here from Tim. Slam is none the wiser, and all of a sudden, out of the shadows, a tower will appear, terrorizing his gold miners and his double pond middle shore fishers. Same time, Tim, not only will he tower, he'll also go scouts, and starting to put a good deal of pressure onto Slam, who wants to go archers, but doesn't quite have the numbers he needs to repel these villagers yet. Tim back to doing Tim stuff. Tim back to doing a trush. And there's the second TC for Mentalist. Not the greatest spot, though. What does this TC really give him? I mean, he gets the shorefish. But either there or there, I think, would have been better spots. Depending on what you want. If you still want the shorefish, like here, it still gives you access to the same you get here, but better gold and better wood coverage. I guess it is a bit farther away from your other one, but it's really not that much of a difference compared to this one, I think. Really likes this TC? Drop TC first, ask questions later? Oh, he actually didn't scout the gold. You just see the bigger wood patch over there. Alright. That's the TC he gets, and now he sees the gold. Hera's still out there with his mill. Mentalist trying to get some kills with the scouts, as Canada does have a score lead. Canada wins this. I think that Canada should be in a good spot to win this, considering how bad Lix's start must have been, abandoning that mill he spent 100 wood on. Like that should give them a pretty good advantage, and I think they have the Cumin player in exactly the spot they want the Cumin player. Now Slam will be annoying, try to hit Vivi, while also defending from Tim. This is kind of a risky thing where Slam wants to hit the player who's going fast castle and deny that as much as he can, but he might just be hit by Tim and just kind of turn something into what he wants, like these players each to be kind of like half a player, with Vivi being denied and Tim investing into feudal. But this could just result in Slam just getting knocked back and not doing damage and losing everything. So this is a risky play for Slam. Looks like, though, in the south, we have a tower rush from Hera. If both of these players have their towers in a spot where they could send Vils forward and tower hop, I don't know if they'll do it, but they could. 3-0 for China? I don't think it's Canada Titanic. I think it's China playing well. Maybe a mistake in the previous game from Chris to leave a hole in a wall. That's about it. Hera may be winning the HP a bit on those towers. I can click both of them. Decides to abandon and still running around with scouts. Yo not going to get the wall in time, as Yo wanted to send Vils to knock down that tower, but that might backfire as the scouts are there and spears won't be able to fend them off, and one Vil will go down. A few more Vils are very low HP. Now this is Yo, as the Cumins, being distracted, needing to commit to the tower war, whereas Mentalist, he's exactly what Canada wants. The Cyan Paladin player getting a free boom. They'll be speedy paladins, so remember, the Cumins have that cavalry movement speed advantage. Even if they start out all the way in the corner, they can get across to the other side of the map in a hurry. Lake's doing a defensive castle as the Turks. Well, Janissaries, they are slow. They're not going to be able to hit Mentalist anytime soon. Canada just building suspense. And not gonna dive a Vil there. Two groups of scouts now, but hard to find damage when there are two town centers defending everything, and the Vils do run out and take out another tower. And nope, Hera on point with the micro there, garrisoning the repair Vil. Yo on a lot of stone, might be looking to castle drop and go Kipchaks if he ever does get up. But might just be for defensive towers though. He is really low on stone and kind of low on all resources. But Mentalist will be up to the castle age, and then he'll be ready. So, well, if you're the Cuban player, can you go knights here? I mean, double stables or even step lancers? If you go knights, are you then able to, like, overrun someone? Either Tim and or Yo with your knights in the castle age. And maybe you are. And looks like that's what he's going to be doing. Double stable knights. Town watch of his own. As Vivi's just booming, but late game, if humans can really get to their paladin numbers on how open this map is, I think they would be a better pick against the Mayans here if the Mayans just go plumes. So Slam, another TC in the south. Tim chasing with some scouts, but most of these Vils will be walled. Oh no, Yo is actually right there, and he's gonna add it in a tower. Usually towers don't stop TCs, but Yo will wall Tim's scouts in and commit all of his Vils to that tower. As Hera's trying to break through, Slam wants to get that TC up. If he gets the TC up, he should win the fight against the tower, but the garrison is there. And the TC is at 57%, and I don't think that's going up. I think Yo actually stops this. So, horrible TC positioning from Slam ends up being right next to Yo's lumber camp. Thought he was safe, but everything changed when the lumberjacks built a tower. And, well, oh, not only a doubt TC, but here come the scouts from Tim, ready to jump Slam's villagers. And Hera trying to come back down. His scouts did leave him. His scouts were interesting in killing maybe one villager here from Vivi. Slam is now abandoned. His villagers have died, and that TC will not go up. Oh, Yo himself wants a TC in the corner. This is where Slam feels pretty dead at this point. He's in the castle age, at least. Here's our third TC from Mentalist. Look at the Eco KD 12 and 04 Mentalist. Overall KD 15 and 5. And that's going to be the hope for Canada, that their Cumin player can carry. Let's see if they can clean some Janissary numbers. And some scout dancing there from Mentalist as he jumps in front of the Janissaries and will turn, but will basically just help the crossbows get some shots in, as we do at least have ballistics from Chris. Chris will just run away there. And Slam still trying to fight against Vivi. We do have that huge villager lead now, 61 vills for Mentalist. But actually, Yo with the Cumins, despite not really going for army the way Mentalist, or despite all of the harassment he has faced, since Mentalist went for army, Mentalist is actually about even in vills with Yo. It feels weird. It feels like Mentalist should be pretty far ahead. But maybe he'll open up a gap again with that third TC. His raids have been fairly effective too. Oh, Slam, don't do the same Oh, gosh. This could be just deja vu all over again. Slam going for a TC right next to Yo's lumber camp. And Yo's gonna have a tower up. Yo has Clown Eco. Actually, better than a tower, Yo's gonna have a TC up, and that TC is gonna go up so fast, it'll go up faster than Slam's. Oh, Slam. No, not again. Not again, Slam. Slam being jammed for a second TC. Yo sent an entire village to get this TC up because Hera's chasing him with these camels. I think the village will raise that TC, and Slam will have to delete his, or what remains of the foundation. Poor Slam doubled out TC. And this is all Mentalist, as Mentalist is going to soon be castle dropped. He's not going to see that till it goes up. There's Iron Casting. Oh, he doesn't see it. He sees the Janissaries now, and he's going to move to intercept them, but in doing so, will miss the castle. Adding in another TC, racing it up on that stone. In the middle, a few scouts from Hera still finding villagers, but getting poked a bit. Well, Tim's still feudal. Is trying to add towers and protect vills wherever he can. Just, again, be annoying to Chris. Now, Tim, he's been annoying Slam. He's been annoying Chris. Slam, has he annoyed Vivi? Maybe slightly. He won vills for Mentalist. Yo is now definitely starting to feel the damage, though. Hera going for a TC. Could the scouts deny this? No, they won't. Goes up in time. Yeah, Tim's pressure has been absolutely great this game. Oh, he's been adding those towers. Now here is the castle. Knights will tank the fire a bit to try to pick off Janissaries. There's a lot of stables now from Mentalist as he's making that transition. He has the score lead, and Canada really will be relying on him because Slam is pretty far down. That being said, 31 vills only from Licks. He has to make a good Janissary push happen. Plumes want to raid Slam. Slam at least has 2 TCs. And at least has more Vills than Licks. But Vivi here with the Plumes could be doing some damage. Imperial Age for Vivi. And it will be Mentalist still stuck in the Castle Age, adding in a 5th TC. I'll be getting some raids on Tim. I feel like it's Yo, the player who needs to be hit right now. Give Hera the edge here, a decisive edge in these fights. As Yo's coming forward with pikemen and wants to build a castle, Hera's gonna take the fight. The pikemen are there, they're poking away at the camels, but they might not be numerous enough. The monk from Yo in the back, he's being forced away, and Hera's gonna win this fight with his Gurjar camels. And now doubt this castle here from Mr. Yo. Yo will leave the foundation there. It's at 17.78%. Maybe try to rush it up later, but no, he deletes it. Bloom is running around still in the back as Imperial Age is on the way. On the way for Vivi. Squires 2. So he'll probably be going Eagles then if it's the Squires upgrade and the armor upgrade for the infantry. We're at Castle Foundations. That would be pretty nerfed out centric balance change. So Chris still providing some crossbow support, even though he will be walking into a castle. Quite devastatingly walking into that castle. But there you go, Imperial Age for Chris and Mentalist at just about the same time. And they're gonna have to hold against the Eagle Warrior Flood from Vivi. And maybe that's Slam's job. And then transition to Paladins. And I think that's a pretty clear way for Canada to win the game. They have a huge Vil lead. Last hitting a castle. You take turns building the foundation. Whoever gets the last hit gets the castle. That sounds ridiculous, and we should probably mod that someday. It should never be in the actual game, but that could be a fun mod. Now the Janissary is trying to get in on the wood line, but they will be cleaned by the knights. Mentalist still not taking much damage. 114 villagers. Lake's not trying to add TCs. Well, that's his playstyle. He's gone full clown mode. At first it was because he wanted the stone for the next castle, but I don't think this castle really accomplished too much for him. Yes, we have a 100 pop lead for Canada. We'll see what can the Eagles now do here. Oh, they can kill Slam, but that's kind of okay for Canada. Slam, he can die. I mean, this could even be a game where Slam gets defeated, but Canada still wins. As his TC over on the right corner, and he does have some Vils that he ran ahead of time that will be headed there. Now the Eagles are coming from Vivian, trying to raid. You can see those purple dots running across the minimap, and especially running throughout Slam's base. Slam will just try to wall and keep them out as long as he can. And the Eagles are getting in, Slam suffering. And at the same time, the Eagles still trying to raid forward. Yet on Chris, this TC should probably go up with the crossbow support. He's adding 2 TCs at 40 minutes. Oh, there, 1, 2, and his initial third for 3 TCs. The Trebs are now popping for Mentalist. And without any repair vills, and his other nearby vills in retreat, this castle will soon be dropping. Mentalist giving himself a bit more breathing room, capturing another gold. Turning with the Cavaliers, now fighting the Eagles. Eagles have El Dorado. They look, I think, fully upgraded for the Mayans. Speedy Cavaliers trying to catch them, but they probably need to be upgraded to Paladins as soon as possible. And Yo, second in his team in Vills, but not in a great position. You are correct, as Hera with the Hindustanis is raiding, or with the Gujars, with the camel save, with the Gujar camels is raiding him. Hindustanis were that China pocket on game 1 on migration. Hamill's getting on the Vills. And turn and fight the pikemen there. As it won't be Fortitude Canada anymore, that is no longer possible. Oh, my 4-3 China is still in the cards.
Shot it.
Low HP Eagle still raiding under the TC. Vivi trying to give his team hope. We have another castle here from Chris trying to shore up this area against the Eagles. Alex's forward castle taken out. Forward miners taken out. What maps are left? Arabia and Team Islands. And I still am a bit surprised Canada did not pick BF. He'll have... Oh, that's where Mentalist is. He has forward stables to the north. There's that Paladin upgrade. And now he's in a position first to raid Lix, take Lix even farther out of the game. Poor Lix, man. He only has 67 vills. You don't gotta be raiding him. And lots of gold still here for Lix. And Eagle's getting in from Vivi onto Mentalist's TC. Maybe disrupting the eco a bit. But now the Paladins are here on Yo. Yo's still in the Castle Age. Tim, Yo, and Lix all in the Castle Age. What do they have to fight Paladins? Only elite Eagles from the Mayans, and those don't really stand up to them. Maybe with the numbers here they'll be okay, but Elite Eagles and Castle Age Knights against Paladins doesn't feel good. We have Elite Shrivampshrider coming in from Hera. If he wants to make whatever Shrivampshriders can do happen, he can do it. It does feel kind of over. Mentalist getting as many raids as he can. Elephant's still alive. The upgraded human paladin should be very good against the Eagles. And Sheep Rush, well, Harris still has his mill. That's in danger of being taken out, actually, by Tim. Tim goes for that TC. He could try and take out the mill, or what remains of it. Lix using the market. And there go the sheep. There go the sheep. The Gujar sheep no longer inside, not safe. And they're being stolen by Tim. Taking all of those sheep back for himself, not letting them power Hera's eco anymore. Not letting them make that sheep sound inside of the mill, gonna be outside in the fresh air. Meanwhile, though, Tim being overrun, Lix being overrun, Yo had Paladin in his base. that's a lot of... Now, what is that? Chuko News for Chris. How will Chuko News do against Eagles? Okay, if they have good numbers. But there's the GG. As China loses African clearing. And that brings it up to a 3-2 score. With China needing to win Team Islands and Arabia. In whatever order China picks them. And it's not over yet. Canada's not going down without a fight. They are not getting swept. They'll be going for the reverse sweep. Mentalist with the best kills. And Mentalist with the most resources. Maybe with the fastest imp, but these two players imp at the same time, in sync with each other, as all Canadians are. And once again, Hera with the most APM. Okay, needing to go deep into the draft for the civs. Hera will be the Tatars on the flank, along with Chris as the Burmese in the pocket. We'll have Mentalist as the Hun's pocket, and then Slam as a Britain's flank. So Burmese pocket for Chris, he's going to have to make that work with a Rambai. Vivi will be Ethiopians on the flank, with Tim as his Frank pocket. Then we'll have Yo as the Hun's pocket, and then Lix as the Saracens' flank. So far more standard civs for China. But the threat of the Britons and their faster working ranges looming over this game also helps the Tatars out if they need to make that late game switch to Cav Archers. So Hera with the flank back gold but forward berries. You will have 3 thick wood lines on this map, more AOC styled than the tiny thin ones you might see in the King of the Desert or DE's current Arabia versions. Can wall over there and keep the gold safe. And then can wall from the edge of the map to the TC and maybe wall behind. Be pretty safe. You gotta fail at lowering the boar. Needs his APM to be even higher. Here's Hera's scout. He's just scouting about. Don't see any laming going on here. Not like those Brazil games where they have very coordinated laming. Hera didn't find... We did find his goats, but didn't pick them up. On the other side, yeah, we already have the boar in for Slam. I think we're going to be seeing that from a lot of players, lowering the boars in super early. And even from the pockets, a bit late from Yo. Yeah, seeing the early boar from Mentalist, and also from Chris. So everyone really liking the early boar lures on Canada, and it looks like the flanks are liking it on China, but usually if you're doing the flank and you're going fast up, you kind of have to. Let's see Lix go out to take his second boar now. Lix back gold, can kind of wall around that wood line, will be awkward, but can be safe if he does that. You kind of wall here and keep the berries safe too. Kind of go a circle like that using the TC around the back right side of his base. Very easy wall for Vivi, just needs to go from that wood line to the edge. Can either do a short wall using that stone line, can do a very short wall going to the TC and going to the edge, or he can go for a bigger circle. Different ways he can go about it. Actually, that just to the TC along with the wall there could be cute. You could also just do the 2 ranges over here. A bit awkward to go around that wood line. I think the ideal wall might even be the ranges out here, so you can open up towards the middle. We'll see what he goes for and how forward he tries to wall versus how close and near the TC he goes for. As there's that mining camp, as players already starting to think about clicking up with how fast this meta is. Especially as the Ethiopians, you're going up on 18 pop. So then goes that deer in the back. Tim still hasn't taken his second boar. What you doing, Tim? And not up to speed on the modern builds. Even as the Franks. 17 pop already. He's got to be thinking about clicking up. There's the Vil and there's Loom. I guess he took enough deer that he didn't need it that early. Oh man, these builds. Same thing with Yo, taking it a bit late. That's one of the tricky things, getting your deer timed well, along with the boar lure. Hopefully that's just a mini F. Dropped a couple frames there in OBS, but hopefully we're still good. Got a green square again. Now we have, deer push, double deer push with both Canadians as the Pockets bring their scouts over. But Hera's scout taking a lot of hits there, and that's going to be 2 deer that Hera won't be able to grab. Oh, they needed slam on that side, but Hera's scout very, very low. Needs to worry about Yo. When we get back to the TC, he won't. Yo gonna peel off. Yay, Canada won a game. Oh, Hera, don't lose the scout. Trying his best to keep it alive, but now down to 2 HP. 1 hit will kill it. From another scout. And there's Vivi, Chris, and Yo all up to the feudal age. And we'll have an archery range from Vivi. And now that they're in feudal, Mentalist and Slam are going to coordinate their scouts to try to pick off a Vil from Vivi on that gold. And looks like they will get one. Not going to try for a second Vil, but they will get out, lose only a tiny bit of HP. Nice pick off from them. At the same time, we have the 2 scouts forward from Vivi and from Tim. Slam might have a Vil fall victim to the same fate, but his are a bit bunched up and perhaps more ready to try and fight. Or perhaps more ready to run towards the TC. That one getting kind of low, but almost making it back. That TC getting a good volley of arrows in. So nice retaliation there from China to pick a Vil, but lost a bit more HP on their scouts. Don't think they'll be able to get a second. Spear out immediately for Vivi, and he will be going very close to the TC with those 2 ranges. Stable for Tim, walling very compactly around his TC. Yo, is the Huns not even bothering to wall, just doing the barracks in the stable. Fun to play, hard to wall without the houses. China playing the meta. This is a big game for them. I mean, assuming that Canada can win their home map of Team Islands, this game would decide the series. And we got some blue turnips trying to spam some Canadian flags in the chat. That CA code. And now time for an archer engagement, finally on the left flank. Feels like Yo had the extra scout, but still advantage here for Canada, as Hera had maybe a couple more archers than did Lix. And well, that's what happens when you have that Britain's teammate. Sometimes you have a fight with an extra archer or 2 just because your ranges work faster. You see Lix going for a very compact set of walls around his base. I thought he would use this wood line for the walls, but not even going that far forward. I was thinking more like ranges here, wall here, but he's saying I'm gonna go even more closer to the even closer to the TC. This time to summon the Hunnic CA. Hunnic CA against Tatar CA. Well, we'll see if Yo goes CA from the pocket. Don't think that's likely. He's finally committing to walls. And see how he didn't wall right away? He waited until late feudal, so he had the wood to do it after making the farms. Getting about 13 of them. Now up to about 15 farms, and he'll probably move to the gold soon. Adding in another scout. And he does have the scout advantage. Remember, the Hun stables do work faster, and that'll go double for, or that'll go exactly the same for Tim. That is their team bonus. Chris needs to make sure he doesn't fall behind in scout numbers too much, though. Especially as the Burmese. They're not going to have that bonus like the Huns do, so he has to be very careful to keep his production not idled. Spear gets a poke and then gets picked off, but that's a good use of the spear there. Now Chris trying to protect Hera's archers. Hera's going to fall back to that hill and take a really good fight. And maybe that hill bonus from the Tatars paid off right at the end there. And that's going to mean instead of being able to push, Lix and Yo are just going to have to camp and deal with the forward berries from Lix that Hera will be able to harass with those archers. Lix won't be able to move out and take them. Has to rely on farms and maybe using the market to sell gold. Looks like Canada is very well walled. We will see some stone walls being thrown down in a panic from Slam. He's going to be slamming down the defenses to keep his base safe. He now will be forced off of his berries. And he's the Britain's player. He's the player on 2 ranges that usually you want. Oh gosh, that house went down real fast, but China's getting out. They're not risking it. This is where Slam might need a couple more spots of stone wall there. Another house. Now they want to go in it from the back. This is where I think Slam just maybe immediately needs to throw down some walls, and he's doing it. As they get in super fast, remember, that is the Saracen's bonus. And he has to immediately throw up a defensive tower. Might need a wall on that side of the lumber camp. Another wall by the TC, perhaps. As the archers are going to dive in, but they will be diving under the TC. Remember, one volley from the archers probably takes out the Palisade HP. And Slam is really suffering due to this Saracen's bonus that the archers have. He's trying to wall in the base of the tower. There's still 1 square for the archers to stand on. And if they get in, they will be absolutely devastating as they can take out the tower as their Saracen's bonus. Where is Mentalist with the scouts? He's on his way, but not quite there. Where is Slam's army? Nowhere to be found. 18 military. But they're all forward. They're trying to get into the back of Tim's base, but they don't have that building bonus like the Saracens do. Slam feels... well, 34 Vils compared to 33 for Lix because he's up to the Castle Age. Feels dead, but he's not completely dead. Who might be dead is Mentalist, as these archers and scouts are heading to the pocket. He can put up as many palisades as he wants, but these are still Saracen archers. They take out that bear. And, well, it's going to be Mentalist has to find a way to take this fight. Remember, the Britons don't get any range upgrade or any range bonuses until the Castle Age. Canada's still working with a slight score lead and a slight Vil lead. And Lix, 15 archers on his way to the Castle Age. Gonna be there around 2030. And now Mentalist taking a beating from those archers as they get in. That Vil in the back didn't even finish his walls. And there's another lumber camp that Mentalist will have to try to run away from. This is where if Chris had any scouts to spare, he'd need to send them over here. But I don't think he does. This is just going to have to be the best fight they can take. And it's a lot of scouts from Mentalist going pretty heavy into the scouts. And because of that, they will clean the archers from Vivi. Everything in the back of that base does get cleaned up. And that's now a huge relief for Canada. Saracen market so OP it isn't even funny. Lix is our first player up to the Castle Age. And remember, he was harassed and pushed off of his berries, but he's going very heavy on gold as the Saracens. Going to try to use that crossbow timing to do some damage. And remember, Hera's walls will not keep him safe. These are Saracen crossbows that will go right through those palisades. And I don't think Hera has time to reinforce with houses, and even if he did, they will go right through the houses too. To even send a forward Vil to chop that tree and palisade it and then get through. And Hera, ooh, bad use of his archers there. At least he was patrolling, but he's going to run right into Lix as the crossbow upgrade comes in. He's just got to be thankful Lix does not yet have ballistic, so he can still run for a moment. And right on through the walls goes Lix. And Hera's going to have to build a tower and more walls to try to defend from this. Meanwhile, there's some blinking in the back. Looks like there were some scouts from Chris and Mentalist that got cleaned up in the back of Yo's base. Yo's walls are on fire. That happens when you're the Huns and you don't have those houses. Hera trying to do markets. Well, all those ballistics archers. So much damage now. That's not even something he can fight to pick off another villager. And another villager, and Hera really taking a beating here from Lix. Could not match the uptiming of that Saracen's market bonus. So Yo might have taken some damage from those scouts, but still has 50 Vils. China opening up a 12-vil lead. Canada still with the score lead, and with a knight or 3 from Chris, might be able to stop these crossbows and clean them all up, but that was a lot of damage Lix was able to do to Hera. And if we look at the vil counts, he's down to 33 compared to Lix's 38. Doing his own university now. And remember, at some point, Tatars do need to make a switch from from crossbow to cav archer because they don't have arbalest. On the other side, it looks like Slam is being cleaned along with Mentalist. Vivi and Tim have their armies alive, and that's China taking a score lead along with an 8 villager lead. Once again, on the left, they're looking to move out. But what damage will they be able to do? 3 ranges here from Lix, early thumb ring, and he's just looking... 4 ranges, he's just looking to stay 1 TC, play all in crossbows on that 1 gold. And he doesn't even need farms, he's not even going to farm as the Saracens. You see, this is how Lix plays the Saracens. This is a very Lix play style. And if he just pumps out... If he can keep those ranges running, there's no way that Hera matches him in numbers. Just how does Hera take a fight here? He needs to keep his numbers up in turn. No tower outside for Slam that he can retreat to. These are now Ethiopian archers with the Saracens team bonus. That gate will go down in no time. You can probably stand on the hill and even pressure the archery range. And it looks like that's what they want to do. They're going to see if they can force Slam to take an engagement. So far, he's declining to accept their invitation. And he'll just rebuild his ranges in the back. So Canada perhaps struggling to adapt to that Saracens bonus, but they do now have a build lead again, 196 to 192. Ever so slight, but Slam needs to keep his archery ranges protected by towers. And in all honesty, I wouldn't even mind seeing a guard tower upgrade eventually from Slam. Or at least masonry. And back here, Slam still has a few archers hidden, but not doing anything. Maybe when they turn to crossbows, if he gets ballistics, he could hit the back of that wood line, but Slam has been... He's been futile for a long time, and now his TC is being pressured by the archers. How many Saracen crossbows can you start killing a TC? Well, they outrange TCs. 20 looks like enough to do a good deal of damage to it. Slam will be repairing with 3 Vils, but that HP is still going down. And they're gonna need to take a good fight, but it looks like Tim probably has even more knights than does Mentalist here. In the south, there is a fight, though, where it looks like Chris is trying to clean up Yo's knights and might actually do so. Canada up by 20 Vils as a team. So Yo under a lot of pressure here. Parrot and Chris still forward and potentially winning their side, but they need Slam to stay alive. And in this patch, repairing TCs with Britons is still expensive, I believe. Reminds you of Obsidian Arrow. Well, it's the same bonus, basically. And at least rebuilding the TC is cheap for Slam because he has the Britons. But these two armies, they have to fight together if they're going to fight. It's a lot of knights for Tim. Actually, I just realized both teams have a Huns player, so both of them get the faster working stables. That is indeed Mentalist Civ. And will this be a decent fight here for Canada? Feels like Mentalist's knight numbers are dropping, and Slam's soon going to be alone on that hill with his crossbows. Remember, no thumb ring for the Britons, they just have the range. So in those straight up fights where you're targeting knights, their crossbows don't really scale as well as other civs sometimes. Especially not as the Ethiopians. Also have cheap stables? That doesn't affect the cost of the stables. Frank's player would have Chivalry in the late game, combined with Huns to pump out stuff really fast. They don't have any discounts. Ethiopian with Saracen pocket? Yeah. Chris does seem in a good position, though. But he's the Burmese. It's not like he's a paladin save who can just go imp and carry. If Chris were the Huns and in this position, then I'd say, okay, maybe he can carry. But what's he going to do now? His TC not going to be denied, but will go down right away as there are two armies featuring Saracen crossbows right next to it. They do get Arb, yes. Saracens are a good archer civ. Slam chasing, trying to fight. But the crossbows just keep finding holes in walls through which they can run. Crossbows in the rear on both sides, shooting in at the knights. And yeah, exactly. Herod still on crossbows and not CA. Looks like this army might finally be cleaned. And 91 Vils for Chris. Question is, how does Chris transition to Imp now? Is he able to make a smooth transition into Elephants? Does he just go Cavalier? Can he do Arambai at any point? It's tricky and he needs to figure it out. And figure it out soon. Goes down at that TC, but more knights pouring in for Tim. Slam really doesn't have the archer or crossbow numbers he needs to defend this just yet. And now Mentalist coming from behind. Score is still neck and neck. Vil count still slightly ahead for Canada overall. We have more stables being added in for Mentalist. And now quick house wall by Slam, slamming down those gates. Doing what he's famous for. Score flip incoming. Ray's hoping for the score flip. Slam has gotten a good number of archers out, really showing how that Britain's team bonus can help you recover. As Vivi's microing around the back of his base, might find a wood line at the front. Hera still dancing. We do, though, have Vivi up to the Imperial Age. She'll be our first player up. And that'll soon be Arbs for the Ethiopian player. It'll take much longer for the pockets to get going, even if in the long run Paladin might be more powerful. China got overextended when they went for the pocket. That does often happen. You go for the pocket, you lose your army. And Chris, he's thinking to push this. Chris wants to push. And to be fair, with the Tatars, it probably makes sense that you're going to take a big fight in the Castle Age and clear out the crossbow numbers for both players so you can make a smoother Cav Archer transition. And then the Arb power spike won't be as much. And looks like Chris's intuition was right. They win that fight. And there's the score flip Ray's been looking for. But Vivi up to the Imperial Age flips it right back. It's not amazing on Vil production, only 51, and you're right, he is the Saracens and has been relying heavily. He's down here on that market of his, wherever he put it. As his army gets cleaned. And I swear I saw it, there it is. There's the market. But his army will be cleaned up. Either cleaned up or running all the way back to the TC. And on the other side, Canada's starting to break in. But Arbalest here for Vivi. Mentalist pushing. Can he take a fight? Can they fight underneath the TC with the crossbows and try to target the Arbs? Canada now up by about 30 to 40 Vils, and this might be the fight they need. At the same time, though, Chris is getting raided. Exactly what you don't want as you're transitioning to Imp. He wasn't fully walled. And Knights are getting in from Tim. Won't be too big of a raid, but he will lose some Vils, back down to 100. That's compared to 111 from Yo. And this is the Burmese. Does he go Elephants? What does Chris do? This is going to be such an awkward transition from him. Can Can he go straight elephants, or does he need to go cavalier into elephants? Yep, they both have the Huns. And here is a fight where it looks like Yo has more knights. China again taking the score lead. Hera getting surrounded. Chris has to pull back. And Yo, he's going to have such a smooth transition as the Huns into paladins. What is Chris going to do here other than use the bears? In the long run, Hera, he's making that cav archer switch. He can go for heavy cav archers, and they will be a better unit than Arbs, but so much more expensive and longer to tech into. We have an Imperial Age now. It's going to be for Mentalist, our first imp for Canada. And where is Chris trying to go? We're going to have a couple of defensive castles now for Mr. Yo, trying to keep this raid out. He's going to lose his vills on that forward gold as the crossbows come in. They can only sling if they're in the Imperial Age. They can't just sling Vivi there. But Tim could. And score lead starting to open up for China, even though they're still down in vills. It's the army that matters here, and Canada's very late to imp. Very late to imp, and not really capable of fighting the Cavaliers and Arbs right now. Slam getting pushed. Mentalist needs to hold until upgrades, but it's not just the minute remaining to imp, it's going to be the Cavalier and armor upgrades. Here comes Slam from behind. Not too many Arbs. They're trying to take a fight together underneath the TC, underneath the tower. Slam will come in with the crossbows from behind, force the Arbs away. But that's a pretty good number of Cavaliers that are still there for Tim. Remember, Castle Age crossbows will do only 1 damage to the armored Imperial Cavaliers. It's almost like fighting rams. Yeah, 6 armor against 7 attack, and Slam has to run back. Slam not even up to imp himself. His crossbows are going to start being pretty useless in these fights. Mentalist space is being clean. Still has 105 vills, but lots of them are idle in those TCs. At least 30 idle. Another group of idle vills over there, about 45 to 50 idle vills. And his TC will go down to that Saracen's bonus. And there is the GG. And China takes it 4-2. Canada only able to win 1 game. Slam was in a lot of pain. And even with the Britons, couldn't make it work on Arabia. That Saracen's bonus, 2 strong GGs. And Canada, they made it so far. They got so close, but once again, get knocked out of a Nations Cup by China. The team of Yo, Tim, Lix, and Vivi. And I'll look at some stats there. The Franks carry. Weren't able to punish the lack of bloodlines in late feudal too much. Eco. Almost resources for Chris, but didn't have that Imperial Age transition and didn't have the timing on it. Yo's just management was a bit smoother. You see that Imperial Age time there for Vivi, then Tim, and finally Mentalist. Society most vills there. Oh, total tied for Yo and Tim. Or highest max tied for Yo and Tim. Total created was Hera. And APN again Hera, but trying to do it. They pull it off from the lower bracket. And manage to upset Canada. Now winning on Arabia. China team plays together as a team all the time. I think that is a great way of describing them. Wow. So I had said China 4-3 was my prediction at the start. They did even better and won 4-2. Wow, and I just have to say, Nations Cup has been absolutely amazing from start to finish. I'm really happy with the maps that I made for it, and I think I had, in terms of the maps I did, there were 2 minor bugs. There was one migration map that didn't spawn the wood lines, and then one Team Islands where the relics were not 3 and 3 and they were 4 and 2. Other than that, I didn't really see. There might have been a couple of admin rees for Rage Forest, and Mega Random might have been a bit awkward, but I think I'm really happy with how the maps turned out. Thanks everyone for following. We've gotten from fewer than 4,000 to over 7,000. And also, just the prize pool donations have been amazing. This has gotten up to, let me check what it is now. NC23 donate. It's gotten up to $18,152.04. So thank you everyone who's been donating, either with your time to help out or on the donation page. That was amazing to see.